هي نفسها الثواني والدقايق نفسها، بس تفرق بين ناس وبين ناس، حد يحس بها وحد ما حسها، الحياة أرض حياة من غرسها.
Firstly, we are very delighted that so many of you, about 100 people had registered, and maybe some of them will be on their way. This subject has been a passion of mine for many, many years. And as you know, that the oil vision essentially says enlightenment through awareness. And it is in that spirit, and this theme was proposed, living a soulful life in every moment on a daily basis. So what we came up with the 6 dimensions of health. Essentially, the 6 dimensions are physical health, emotional health, mental health, social health, spiritual health, and most important, all the Indian people know is financial health. And that is a very important way to put together the whole concept of what health means. In the past, there used to be a time when cancer was a big problem. Today, there are mental issues of depression and all kinds of issues. So hopefully, it will be discussed on each table. The way, as Mariam put it, we are going to show you a 15-minute video, which, in my opinion, summarizes the very concept of what this program is all about. And then we're going to ask you to divide yourself on each table. Now, the way we've structured this, that each table will have one topic to discuss. It could be physical, it could be emotional, because if we discuss all the issues, it'll be too long, it'll take a whole day. But the good part is, later on, you will hear from different tables, so you will be briefed about what has gone on other dimensions as well. So that will be a very interesting part. Couple of things I like you pay attention. As the video is being displayed, you have a piece of paper that we've given you, so feel free to make notes of what is important to you, because those points will be on the topic that you are sitting with. It could be social health, for example. So make note on the question, but you will hear all the dimensions. But later on, you will hear about other dimensions they have discussed. Now, a couple of important things I want you to pay attention to. And the thing is, all these dimensions are interestingly very dynamically integrated. You'll find that one dimension may be useful to you at a certain age of your life, or certain things are happening to your life. But being aware of all the 6 dimensions, you'll be able to put together and live a very harmonious life. The problem is that we tend to focus on 1 or 2 at our age, or different ages. But being aware of this will help you live a very, very interesting and meaningful and a life of empowerment. Now, these dimensions have the capacity to, even though they are all can be in harmony, what I have realized is that it can also pull you apart. And the reason is, say, your needs are physical, your needs are financial, but you also want to be spiritual. Now you can see the dynamics. It can pull you apart, and unless you are aware, and you're aware mindfully, you will be able to do it the right thing. And it is possible. So this seminar will also give you a lot of thoughts and ideas that will help you put the 6 dimensions together. So without wasting any more time, I'm going to ask Hasnain Sarjan and Hasnain here, the twin Hasnains, to present the video please. Thank you. Well, we are also going to have a panel of people here who have volunteered to come forward to help and make sense from their real life experiences. And I'm going to introduce them now, but then I'll ask them to stand up as I'm introducing them. Firstly, the Dr. Zubina Mauji. Zubina, where are you? Oh, right there. Can you stand up? Yeah. Zubina Mauji is a board-certified internal medicine physician. She has held leadership positions and a professor position in quality improvements, risk management, and patient safety in the American healthcare system, and she has practiced it for 25 years. She has lectured, she has taught, and published many topics in medicine, in quality improvement, public health, and women's health. I know that she has given talks on women's health in the community as well. She currently practices in Toronto, Ontario, and believes in mantra of her patients of balance and peace. The theme was balance here. Thank you. Now we have another panelist. She is Maheen Sayed. Maheen, if you can just recognize yourself. Maheen is a psychotherapist. She's a social worker and provides private counseling services located in Concord, Ontario, to families who are dealing with mental, emotional, with trauma, and diverse challenging experiences. You can visit her website. It's too long for me to describe everything she does. Who knows? I might meet her someday. If you know someone who is going crazy, just send him to her, or him, I should say. She also is a faculty member at Sheridan College, helping students in mental health issues. She has a Master's of Social Work from the University of Toronto and trained in mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. She's a neurobiology of trauma, and I know that she has given a talk to the oil members some time ago about trauma, especially during the time of Gaza that was happening, and a lot of people were affected. She's also does clinical hypnosis, and there are too many things for me again to say. And we have Dr. Sheikh Arif. Sheikh Arif, where are you? Sheikh Arif, does anybody don't know this guy? Who? You didn't see her, she was right on your table.
No, I was watching you.
That's it. Okay. So Sheikh Arif doesn't need much introduction, except to say, for those who have not heard him, and because Mariam has introduced him many, many times, as head of the Al-Mahdi Institute in Birmingham, UK, he's also known for out-of-the-box ideas and fresh thinking on Islam. And as you know, that he can be controversial, but he's never afraid to speak his mind. I'm not going to talk much about his other credentials because, as you know, he has written his 5 books on God centricity, and be well worth reading them as well. But I have to say this, and I don't know whether he will like it. If he ever feels isolated and lonely after being rejected by the powers that be, we have our oil panel to help him. Is that okay, Dr. Shekhar? Okay, and we have Dr. Hussein Kimji. Hussein, please, if you can stand up for a minute only, for a second. Hussein Kimji is a dear friend of mine. He's a professor of Islam. He's a humble and a wonderful man, human being. He remembers the Quran ayat in a second, just like that. And I don't remember what I ate yesterday. Thank you, sir. And he teaches at the university as a popular lecturer. And but we also have, I might just introduce to you our Ruqayya Sulaimanji. Ruqayya will be conducting a meditation session for you on the topic of the qualities of the soul as a tool to connect with Allah. And I'll tell you her background. Ruqayya is a qualified psychiatric nurse, trained from the UK, and she has worked for the National Health Service for 35 years, but still looks young. She's trained and provided transcultural therapy as well. She now teaches yoga. She practiced yoga for the last 30 years, has been teaching for 24 years. And she also teaches meditation for the last 15 years. So with all that introduction of the panel, I will ask them for now to sit there while what would be the best thing for them to sit at the table, and then maybe on the round table right now? Okay, so will the panel please, right now there, right? You want them to sit? Where they are right now? Okay.
Thank you, Reza. So what we're going to be doing now is Abdul Uncle will be shifting some people around. We're really trying to get diversity on each of the tables, age, women versus men, young versus old, professional backgrounds. So please, if you can, if he's asking you to move, just do it so that way we can get started as soon as possible. With that, we're going to take about 20 minutes. Each of the tables have a question on their table dealing with one of the 6 dimensions. We ask that you talk about it at the table, appoint a facilitator so they can take notes and provide a summary. And afterwards, a panelist will come up and you'll provide the summaries and they'll provide feedback to you.
Okay, so we had the question of physical health, and the question that we were given was, what are your common challenges and possible solutions to maintain excellent health? So we came up with a list, and we had a great discussion, and I think we came up with a list of challenges and some solutions, and I think that one of the biggest challenges was, we said just procrastination and not prioritizing our health, and changing our perception of what health actually is, and understanding that once we've got our physical health in order, it'll affect everything else, and there's like a knock-on effect. We talked about how, also taking advantage of your health when you've got it. Like one of the aunties was mentioning how, mashallah, she looks 20 years younger than she actually is, and it's the idea of like, when you're a certain age and you've got that health, like make sure you utilize that and maintain it. And another one of the challenges was, forgetting things. And I think at any age we go through, like forgetting little things here and there. And, one of the solutions for that was using strategies to help remember, do like cognitive games, Sudoku, or just, kind of those mnemonic kind of devices to help remembering things. So maintaining a routine was also a big challenge. And then I think one of the solutions for that we discussed was have non-negotiables, times for putting your health first, putting yourself first. So as we know, life gets crazy. You try, you can set up a schedule, you can try and prioritize the things that you want to do, but if you, wake up an hour earlier to say I'm going to work out or go for that walk, and do things like maintain, establish like meal plans when it comes to food, and making sure that we've got healthy food available in the fridge if we've got young children. So making things, making life easier to kind of maintain that sort of healthy lifestyle. Joining a gym, and we talked about if you can't actually join a gym, then have a home gym, or have a few things at home where you can do a 10-minute sort of workout daily and build it into your lifestyle. And also part of some of the other things you can do as a family, do like fun activities like paddle or go for walks or go for bike rides that will not only help your physical health but also your the dynamic of your family. Staying stress-free was a really big one, which is difficult, but I think that also probably ties into our spiritual health. But understanding that ultimately, when we leave things up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we have that kind of understanding, it helps us to actually be physically more healthy. I don't know, was there anything I forgot on our table?
No, that was
Yeah.
great.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is mental health. I hope nobody's going to go to the dementia aspect of it.
So the first question was, what does mental health mean to you? And we spoke about how it means to regulate your emotions, manage triggers, solve conflict, and being in a state of equilibrium, and knowing the difference between different kinds of health and how they're all connected. We talked about controlling and dealing with anger, and we talked about how the extreme state of mental health would mean being institutionalized or having suicidal ideation. We talked about stress, daily stress, and anxiety that affects our mental health. The next question was how to build positive environment to nurture good mental performance. And we talked about how it varies from person to person and how we all have our own ways of dealing, whether it's walking, reading. We talked about God centricity and how we can make ourselves mindful and focus on God in everything that we are doing in our daily lives and how that could bring us peace. We also talked about having a support network and how useful that can be in managing our mental health. The next question was discussing challenges and techniques to manage stress. Relates to the second question, and then we talked about how the biggest challenge is the taboos that are associated with mental health, and how people would rather talk about cancer than talk about having a mental health challenge. And then we also talked about how time is a challenge when it comes to self-care.
This one here, the emotional health. Let's find out.
I thought we had another table that had the same topic.
That's fine. Whoever, you know.
You know what?
So who is here for the emotional?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nassim, and I'm representing our team here for emotional health. So I hope I don't mess it up, okay? So in our team, we did something a little bit different. We took a story of one of our team members and experienced through them how they have overcome a certain challenge or certain challenges in their life and how how they got through them. So the first thing that we found was actually being aware of the issue. Awareness is a huge thing to manage any problem or issue, right? So that resilience is finding ways to get through that issue. So we talked about the different mechanisms of resilience that they use to get through these issues. And we also talked about therapy, outside therapy, and if it was helpful. And we found that it was in this situation. We discussed how, family support, especially in their situation, being of an older generation, how that, if they found support within the family, how they overcame the taboo of actually getting help, and many coping mechanisms that they used to help them get through by talking to community members, certain groups of friends, instead of actually the whole community, because at that time, going through mental health issues or crises was looked at as, kind of like, what's going on here? So we talked about all of these type of things. Okay. So I think that was about it. One of the coping mechanisms and learnings that they experienced was what you hear on the pulpit is not our faith. And it is actually actively being engaged in awareness and wanting to learn the truth and actually learning what the Quran is teaching. Okay, the last thing is, for another team member being through a difficult journey of health problems, the things that helped to help them through it was engaging in our spiritual practices, such as the namaz, meditation, yoga, all of these type of things, as well as outside, like yoga is not a part, we haven't embraced it all that until now, so they incorporated all these things.
Okay. Social health. Can I invite you to come to the table, to the front here, please?
Hello, my name is Zina Bergi, and I'm going to talk about what we have discussed in our group. But we, first of all, went through the things that one of our group members went through the trauma in his life because of the demise of his wonderful son. And he talked about what really trauma he went through and all the things that he needed at that time. So he found one thing, that our community was not really well equipped with the proper counseling. There's no counseling available, except there was some which really related them to think about the events of Karbala, that thing, which was okay in a way, but not really useful to go over that phase that he was looking for. And then it happened with isolation and everything. But he found some good resources where he went through. I just got some counseling from outside. There was one bereaved family counseling, the victim services, and psychotherapy, right? The psychotherapy. So that helped a little bit. But now going through this thing, we found that the social and emotional are really related with the mental too. When you get the mental diseases, it affects your social life, it emotionally affects life, everything. So some of the things we talked about was to have some proper counseling, and this one to have, one thing we found out too, the volunteering really helps. When you try volunteering, you will get into some kind of a good organization. This one, it takes you away from that thing, and you really feel that you are blessed in your life, and you forget about your troubles a little bit, trying to concentrate helping others. The other one is, what I wanted to say was, really happy with the youth organization in our oil. They are doing a wonderful job, because our youth need to know about all these things so that they could also help in the social of our community youths. So that's a really good part. Thanks. And then we talked about the family values, because to have a family, it's a good social link to all the people who are, who want to be part of the social group. And as you get older, it's very, very hard. Now, we have a lot of programs in our community with all the seniors and other things they can go to. But again, we found one issue when they become too fragile or ill to be able to go to those events, then it's really lonely for them. So that way the social, this thing is affected. So it's the support group with the family helps at that time. And the other thing we found is that you need to have personal drive to be able to make friends, to go for social. Again, physical activity is related in this one too, where you could try and get friends through the physical part, you go in the groups with the team, go for exercise, yoga, and that kind of thing.
How deep is the wallet? The financial.
Yeah, we were discussing about the financial health. Lots of interesting things I've learned from everyone on the table. So I'll get to our question after, but we discussed some of the things like how important it is to develop financial sense early in life, especially nowadays in society. Big thing came up is learning things at a younger age, because it's all about compounding. For example, Einstein said compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, because you start early. If you, for example, invest $5,000 somewhere, and leave it for 30, 35 years, at the end of it, it'll be, you'll be in a really good place, basically. And if you're not sure where to put your money in, for example, it will be, for example, S&P or, for example, life insurance. We discussed things, the importance of it, that you should always pay yourself first. Let's say we start a job or do something, pay yourself first, meaning pay yourself not to spend, but pay yourself to keep it in mind. So, for example, you get $10 from somewhere, you take 6 or 5 aside, keep that aside for saving, and then use that remaining $5, so that will create a discipline within you. So you may have earned 10, but you end up with 5 and spend that 5 accordingly and wisely. That builds discipline, and you recognize your own capacity. So, avoid that Tim Hortons or Starbucks drink as an example, and that will help you benefit further. It's an important thing that parents, duty, or even the society, like schools, to teach their children how to save and how to learn about financial information. So, for example, if we have teaching the children are doing chores, give them an incentive. Here's a couple of dollars if you do this task. So, in one way, they're learning to do a task and doing it for something, but they're also learning the value of money as well. But, is it a good idea to sacrifice health to make money and then spend money to recover your health in later years of life? Definitely the answer is no. But of course, it depends on a couple of things. When you're younger, you tend to work harder, you have the energy. And if you are doing specific jobs, like if you're a nurse or you're on call duty working 12 hours, so you have times that you are sacrificing your health, but definitely not a good idea. You should prioritize, for example, this is one of Sajjad mentioned, if we are working from 9 to 7, but you should come home early. Let's say if you tell yourself, I have to work from 9 to 7, it's not about the quantity of time, but it's the quality. If you tell yourself, I have to get out of the office by 5, you will work to find a way to get those things done within that period of time, as opposed to till 7 o'clock. Like, we have 9 to 5 work schedules, but that doesn't mean there's 8 hours of work. Productive work can be done in a few hours, and then you can use the rest of the time accordingly. So it's all about managing how you can use your time effectively. And I did ask this question, so it's like a lot of people feel the need that they need to be financially stable before they get married to provide, but it's to each his own, and to be transparent with the person you wish to be spending your life with. Like, for example, nowadays it's become difficult to have a one income from just one side of the family. And right now, there's also people, both men and women, working together. It is beneficial because you're double income, shared expenses. So that is a good way to look at it. Double income, and you share the expense, so you have more option and more chance to save, more opportunity. And then you build your future together. I know we have, from what I remember, from what we've been taught, it's the man who's helping, being the breadwinner of the family, but nowadays it can change. And I think it's beneficial to both people, because at the end of the day, both people who get married to each other want to enjoy a life together. So this reduces the pressure and stress from each of them and opens the path for honest transparency. Because finance is a very sensitive topic amongst people. So I think being open and transparent about it is definitely helpful. And I hope I've answered.
Here comes the spiritual health. Who has that?
Hi, I'm Faiza. So I was put on the financial table first. I'm so happy that you moved me, because I would have had no idea what to say. So we were talking, to be honest, we didn't really have a chance to go through all the questions, because we were talking about what spiritual health is and what spiritual health means to us. And we likened it to a blade of grass, which is rooted and strong. So the physical may change, but your root stays the same. And the concept is that the blade doesn't get affected by the blowing wind, and the chaos does not affect it. So peace is not the absence of chaos, but how to navigate it. And then the word that was coming in mind was equanimity. So no matter the external cause, the spiritual being is not affected. And the whole concept is to surrender to the will of Allah. And the essence of the soul stays the same, which is our essence is light. And I think at that point, Sheikh had also come to our table, and he had said that the arriving at the real being is beyond the body. So the spiritual health is basically arriving at the real being beyond the body. So then we came to the consensus that the root of all health is spiritual health. So in the end, we are all light, and we go back to light. So physically, mentally, emotionally, everything will fall into place once the soul is in alignment with God and we surrender to the will of Allah. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Arya, and we discussed spiritual health. And the first thing was how can we become God-centric and develop that connection with Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. First thing was through reading, listening to music, if it's within that ethical boundaries, and giving service and charity to others. And something we discussed was day-to-day tasks. So if you're doing something and you're keeping it within that God-centricity boundary, you could actually have a very spiritual, healthy life. Then it comes to our question, which is it possible to live a soul-centered life and still enjoy the perks of material and financial pleasures of modern life? So something that many people think is that Islam and living a healthy and material life are two separate things. But we discussed that they actually go hand in hand, as the Prophet has said, La Rabbaniyata fil Islam. So you can't just go and live in a cave and not live a healthy life and just separate yourself from the material world. And as we've seen through the Sunnah of the Prophet and the Imams, for example, Imam Hassan used to write the best Arabic verses, but on many occasions he shared his wealth with the poor people. Or Imam Baqir, Imam Hussein, they used to trade, they used to do farming. So you can't just isolate yourself from the society, but at the same time they were very God-centric and they gave back to the society. And something that we shared is that our beloved Prophet has said that the one who knows his Lord would know himself. So one way to have a healthy and spiritual health is to get to know your Lord and the reality. And that personal connection with God, as the Sufis have this hadith or narration, they say that the path to Allah is to the number of human souls. So it could be very personal and the way that you find your Lord. For example, we discussed at our table, one way that you could find your Lord is through food, for example. So it's very personal and you just have to find that connection with Allah. And last thing that we discussed is that our reality is one. We are all one soul and not this physical body. So we are not this male or female or the way that we sit in this world. We are one soul. And as we said in the Quran, our origin is the same. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed us with the beautiful names, divine names, and Asma'ullah. We all share that, but to different intensities. So one way is for us to share these beautiful names with each other and come together and complete each other. And one ritual that we discussed was the ritual of Hajj. We all come together with different intensities of the beautiful divine names and we complete each other. And once we go to Hajj, you can't tell the poor from the rich. It's that one single reality that we have to realize. And lastly, it's a beautiful quote that from Maulana Rumi. He said the truth was a mirror in the hands of God. It fell and broke into pieces. Everybody took a piece of it and they looked at it as though they had the truth. So it's one single reality, but we have to realize that. We have to work together and put back together that the whole mirror, the whole picture. Did I miss anything? Yeah.
Well, indeed. We have one more table, and that has a discussion on mental.
Hello, everybody. I'm Anaya. I'm a college student sitting at that table over there. And we talked about mental health. And a lot of what we talked about had similarities with what the other table talked about, so just bear with us if we repeat anything. It's all important anyways. So mental health, we talked about as being like your mental state, the way that you react to your environment and your feelings, and being able to manage those reactions by feeling what you are feeling but not spiraling about it. Is self-image and how you talk to yourself, in both the positive and negative phases, and focusing just on mental health being positive only, kind of prevents you from being able to fully feel the range of emotions that you should be feeling. We talked about building positive mental health environments, and a lot of it had to do with the physical environment, being in nice, clean spaces with people who are also, positive and good for you. Being able to find peace in your surroundings, and do things that bring you joy. Sleep and nutrition were also very big factors. Seconding sleep, because if I get less than 8 hours, I'm all over the place. Positive self-talk and no toxic work environment were really major things that we talked about. And then after that, we talked about discussing challenges and techniques to manage stress, anxiety, and depression. A lot of the stuff that we talked about for that was like mindset and narrative. Many people at our table said that if you are in a mindset where everything is bad and all you can do is complain, you're never going to be able to create the positive reality that you want to enjoy. A lot of people found help in like talking to other people, being accountable to other people and having those people like talk to you so that you can reframe your own mindset. Going from, this is a really bad situation, I hate these people who are around me to, I want to develop better relationships with them. I want to change my circumstances. Growth mindset was a big part of that, and the power of yes. Even if you haven't done something, there's always the yes. You can do it another time. And then one thing that we didn't talk about, but that I felt was helpful to bring up as other people have brought up, talking about emotional and social health, being able to like reach out to professionals. Like a lot of what you can do is like focus in on yourself. Like sometimes you need a professional in order to challenge you on what you are thinking and feeling. I started therapy this past year, just because it's nice to like talk to someone. And even when I don't have anything like really going on, it's helpful to be able to have like a weekly check-in and know that I have like a support system to go to.
Let's open this up, and starting with you, Dr. Dye.
First of all, I want to thank the organizers. I would also thank my fellow panelists, Sheikh Arif, for gracing us, Dr. Kimji, and Maheen. It's really an honor to be able to speak today. It was really a treat just being able to sit at the table and listen to everybody and how they really, dug into this concept of health. I've done talks for many, many years, and this type of forum, I think, really is a, if you will, healthy forum. Because it really allows a back and forth conversation as opposed to just a talk. But I will tell you that that table in the back was having the most fun. Maybe because they were talking about financial, I don't know, but that's the table I want to be at next year. I would like to just frame my comments before I move on to my fellow panelists in talking about health as not just the absence of disease, right? So we think, okay, I'm healthy, so I don't have any illnesses. But I think in the last 15 to 20, maybe 30 years, we've started to morph out of just looking at health as just the absence of disease, but rather being active participants in one's health to be able to drive your health to something more. I think we're all looking for something more. So that would be the first point I would make in the themes that I was listening to today. I think also when I counsel folks about health in the office, ultimately what I'm trying to help facilitate them to achieve is balance. So my definition of health
is really about balance. Because when we look at that wheel with all of the components of health, ultimately, what we're trying to achieve is a level of balance in all of those things. Because we're not all going to be Olympic athletes, and we're not all going to be, superstars in any of those particular elements. But if we achieve just enough to get a level of balance, not only can we achieve an absence of disease, but we can actually push forward. And when I talk about push forward, I guess I'm talking about striving, right? So I was at a talk on Mudras, I've been to a lot of Mudras recently, and Sheikh Dr. bin Jafar was saying, he was talking about taqwa, and he was talking about the moment that I am not striving, I'm regressing. And I thought that was really powerful in the rubric of health. So as long as we continue to strive, we won't regress. And the reason I bring that up today is a lot of patients will come into the office and be like, oh, I fell off the wagon. I'm back to eating those samosas. Although in my patient population, which is downtown Toronto, it's more like, I fell off the wagon and I'm not having my healthy juices or whatever, or my vegan meals, whatever it is. I had a steak. So I think it's sometimes my job to get people back to realize that it's okay to have to falter, because this is a journey. This is not I gotta get this accomplished in 1 year. When we look at things like cardiovascular health, and we look at issues in people who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s, the reality is a lot of that cardiovascular disease started in their 30s and 40s, right? So this is a journey. This isn't, I'll make a change this year and everything's going to be fine going forward. So forgive yourselves. I think that's really important. To say it's okay. I don't need to necessarily achieve that goal within 6 months, this attainment of ideal health. But rather, it's simply a journey along the path. And so that if we start making small changes in our 30s, in our 40s, those will impact the changes in our 50s and 60s. And I'm not talking about just your diet, I'm talking about all of those elements of health that have been discussed today. I think the other 2 points I'll make is that Sheikh Arif the other day talked about inner shirk and outer shirk, and I thought that was really quite interesting. He talked about inner changes and outer changes. And I think a lot of ways I think of physical health or health in general as in that framework as well. I may see someone who looks very healthy, but there's a lot going on underneath the surface. So I think understanding that and not rushing to judgment about how someone looks or their appearance or what they appear to be doing is not really necessarily what's going on. And I have the privilege, and I'm very humbled by that privilege, that when people come into my office and they reveal to me what's really going on underneath the surface, it's quite a story, right? So I think achieving balance and understanding inner and outer struggles and inner and outer appearances is critical. In internal medicine, a lot of what I do is I'm ordering labs, I'm looking at things like cholesterol levels, just to make this really practical. I may have a very, very thin individual who has terrible cholesterol levels. And I may have someone who is maybe on the slightly overweight side, but the reality is they've been blessed with great genes, and their cholesterol is amazing, okay? So, lack of rush to judgment and really understanding inner and outer, understanding balance, and the striving, the piece about striving. And I think I believe with this last point that, and actually this was at the talk that's being given at Tourange right now on Gaza by Sheikh Ahmed Qureshi Hanif, and he was saying that Islam tries to create balance. And again, that resonated with me. So I think when we bring it back to Islam, we bring it back to health, we bring it back to the medical rubric as well. Balance is really the key. And he talked about, for example, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who even had balance in his attributes. And he was talking about feminine and masculine attributes, the idea of rahma and caring, and those, if you will, softer attributes, and the and the harder attributes, and how that balance actually creates a healthy human being in terms of their health and their mental health.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You know, my total solution for everything is just one particular surah in the Quran, which is a miraculous surah, and it is complete formula for the total success in any situation that we go through this life, and also our success in hereafter. If you truly understand that particular surah, it is the shortest surah in the Quran, it is only 3 ayat, and then of course there is another explanation of that particular surah in another chapter in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah. But the shortest surah is Surah number 103, Surah Al-Asr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Al-Asr. By the passing away of the time, we are all perfected by that, each and every one of us. Wal-Asr, Innal Insana Lafi Khusr. Without any doubt, a human being, insan, is in the state of loss. But the solution is 3 things, or 4 things. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. These 4 things is a complete formula of our total success, both in this life and hereafter. Now we want a further explanation of that particular surah, which is miraculous surah, because many scholars have said that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had nothing else in the Quran except this surah, Surah Al-Asr, that would have been enough for us. I'm sure. So now the explanation of that surah in more detail is what is called in the Quran Ayatul Bir, Ayat of success. It gives a complete explanation, detailed explanation of this surah, Surah Al-Asr. That ayat is Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat number 177. And let me now, recite that, ayat for you. It's rather long, not the longest, but still slightly long. It goes like this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Laysa al-birra an tuwallu wujuhakum qibala al-mashriq wal-maghrib. ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والسائلين وفي الرقاب وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة والموفون بعهدهم إذا عاهدوا والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المفلحون. Muflihun, the very last word in this particular ayat, Muflihun, is, the falah, the final success. This word Muflihun actually refers to the farmers. Falahim, the farmers are known as, Falahim. It's very unique that this ayat, because the last word, Muflihun, is, the final success. What is the final success of a farmer? A farmer goes through the struggle. He gets a seed, he plants a seed, he goes through the trouble, watering and everything else. And then finally, when it begins to grow and it begins to find a fruit that they will come, that is the final success. So to achieve that final success is the real success.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And I have to start by saying it's just such a privilege to be in this room that is so full of wisdom. I had the opportunity to float around the tables and I heard really interesting stories of resilience during adverse times and how you each rose to conquer those adverse times. So thank you for that opportunity. I want to make 2 points. I wish I could. I have a lot to share, but I know time is limited. The first point I want to make is the interconnectedness of this well-being, right? So the 6 components, as one example I can think of not too long ago, was when we went through the pandemic. And we noticed how restrictions on socialization disrupted everything. We saw record numbers of suicides. And that was due, again, it's not a political discussion about whether the restriction should have happened, but when you see one area of our life, the social aspect of it being restricted, how it can really disrupt the whole system. Not being able to go to the gym, not being able to see our extended family, not being able to do things that were really integral to our daily life to cope. And we're still reeling from it. I still see younger people who are still readjusting to life after COVID. So when we look at this whole wheel, the 6 components of it, when I was at the financial table, someone had made a comment about that last question, whether it's okay to sacrifice your health right now in order to save money. And, you know, it made me reflect about some of the poverty-stricken individuals and families and students I work with. In my day job, I work with a lot of international students from India, for example. They have to pay $30,000 in tuition, $12,000 in rent and money, and food and other transportation costs. So on average, they have to earn at least 50 grand, and they're only 18 or 17. They don't have often time for day counseling. When they come to see me, they're so focused on their basic needs that everything else seems too extra, right? And they are definitely sacrificing a lot of their other needs, their health, to make it work. Because if they don't pay the tuition, if they don't pay the rent, they'll be homeless and be deported, right? And my point in sharing that is we can't control our circumstances always, the external circumstances, where life places us. If you look at that pamphlet on your table, it's quite heartbreaking to see the statistics on poverty levels here in Canada, which is a developed country. But if you think about that family, and I wonder, like, do they even have time to, or the luxury to socialize, because everything costs so much money, to be able to go out and have that, you know, that very important component of their well-being met. So where does that leave the rest of us who have the needs, who have the financial means to take care of our health, is to give back, is to help out. I was really impressed with Mutha's uncle's example of his personal loss, and I hope you're okay with me commenting on that, and how you took that experience of seeing that gap in the community of comprehensive counseling, and now you're building it up from the ground up, right, to ensure that everyone in the community has the same equitable access to counseling. So if they're struggling mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, they can get that professional help, right? And that is what well-being really is, despite going through adversity, is to make meaning of our experiences and moving forward and finding that balance, not just for ourselves, but for those around us too. So that is, you know, the social part of it. Giving back, helping others will hopefully help you to feel fulfillment as well. I studied this research that had come about on finding purpose and fulfillment. It talked about when a lot of people, they reach the pinnacle of success, they made all the money that they have, they turn to philanthropy. And it's because giving back gives them that fulfillment, that meaning-making part of it, their life, that helps them to feel fulfilled, right? So wherever you are in your life, I would hope that you treat yourself with self-compassion that you also touched upon, because we're often hard on ourselves when you look at, okay, I'm not going to the gym every day, I'm not eating right, or I don't have enough in my savings. Is to develop that plan, support one another, but most of all, treat yourself with kindness and self-compassion as you make that journey that Dr. Zabina talked about, because it will be a journey. You're not going to be able to rush to it or race towards it. You want to enjoy that journey too as much as you can. And supporting those around us as well as we go along on that journey.
So thank you all very, very much. That's I have benefited a great deal, especially from the comments of the panel. I just want to add a few things to the things that have already been stated. Of course, it's an integrated approach that is needed. We have to look at it in a holistic manner. Things overlap and they're all interconnected, but I agree with the comment that if one of them is out of balance, then everything else collapses. So a poor person and a student who has to pay their fees will be compromising on health and social life and, let's say, emotional well-being. The whole thing is being equal, we can address these 6 different aspects of human health individually and then think about integrating them. So from a sort of a traditional Islamic perspective, whether it's not purely Islamic, it's mostly traditional, but we say it's Islamic because the Muslim figures have repeated these very sentiments. So in terms of physical health, of course we need sports activities, but sports activities done with others are better than sports activities done in isolation of others, or going to the gymnasium or playing a game of golf. A game of golf or a game of tennis is far better for the overall health. There was a study done that playing tennis on average increases 9.5 years to our health, whereas football only increases 3 and swimming decreases a few years. That's not true. Only increases 2 odd years. Now the reason there is because there's full coordination between the mind, the eyes, the limbs, the different types of motions, and 2, there's another person that we are interacting with. So it's a very good sport to take up. Of course, eating less, being mindful of what we eat, chewing over food properly, and eating the sort of foods that are healthy. Eating times. The Prophet said, all ailments begin from the stomach. And all cure comes from the stomach. I'm adding that on. Sleeping times. There was a study done that Qaylula, sleeping in the afternoon, reduces the risk of cardiac arrest by 70%. Yeah? So these are all healthy things that the Prophet had taught us. Walking after meals, not eating excessively hot substances or cold substances, and not blowing on food and washing hands and washing obviously utensils before consuming. So in addition to whatever has been said, now I saw that 8 to 11 hours sleep, it said? 9 to 11 hours sleep? Now the recent studies show that actually lessening sleep is better. And sleeping late is better.
Really?
Yeah. You know, if you sleep before 10, there's a high risk of getting dementia. Sleeping after 10, if you're like me, maybe not sleeping at all, is good for the mind. And sleeping a little bit less is good. According to the Islamic literature, staying awake at sunrise is very, very profitable for the mind and the body. Very healthy. I think it was Hadith of Imam Ali, he said, staying awake till sunrise and sleeping after sunrise. Sleep at sunrise, it's the most profitable sleep, most beneficial sleep. And stay awake before that. It's very good for health. In terms of mental health, within our sort of training, we are taught, and of course we practice this seclusion. Of course, this is not for people who suffer from loneliness, but people who lead very sort of busy lifestyles. Seclusion, taking time out, is very good for the mind. To calm the mind. You don't have to do dhikr or anything. You can listen to music, some nice music. I know here you will say classical music. I don't mind Lata and Rafi singing their songs, or Asha and Kishore. It's nice. Take time out, calm down, listen to music, stretch out, have a coffee, get a vape. Honestly, now you might think I'm just being silly, but I'm not. Honestly, the mind relaxes. It's overly burdened with interaction. Needs seclusion. Reading books. Get a nice book. It can be a novel, a book on history, or whatever that stimulates intellectually but light-hearted reading before going to sleep. It's very, very good for the mind. It creates newer neural sort of pathways and connections and whatever. Playing chess is a strategical game. It gets the mind thinking. It's healthy for the mind. I mean, there are many other things. I normally call over a friend when I'm feeling overly pressured due to work and interaction with life. And then we just talk nonsense and we laugh for 4 or 5 hours. We just laugh and talk just rubbish. God forbid if anybody were to hear that, they would never be willing to sit in my lectures again. But it's very good. It's very good for the mind, to free the mind and to calm the mind. Laughter, taking walks. I remember in my days when I was studying at the institute, 6 o'clock in the morning, I would walk up, aside from the winter months, 6 o'clock every morning I would walk and then do nothing, just reflect, study nature, see things, insects, observe these things. Emotional health. Now, what happens here is that we need to understand that there are causes, deep causes to our emotional states. And whatever we feel, we end up thinking. So as opposed to cursing ourselves and loathing ourselves and saying I have an anger management problem, to actually go back to the cause. You know, my father is a gentlest soul ever, but let's say he's not. He's a psychopath and I've ended up in this sort of a state. There's a cause to it. What triggers this anger? What makes me so intolerant? To look at those issues, those areas that really need to be worked on, instead of loathing ourselves and cursing ourselves, to actually understand what's going on deep within us, and then try to find out how we can better understand ourselves. So we have to be very empathetic in terms of treating with ourselves, forget about anybody else. We have to be sympathizing with ourselves, merciful to those. You do have that problem, and we need to sort it. Social health. Now there was a study that loneliness is the biggest killer. People suffer from bad health, and of course their lifespans are shortened because of loneliness. It's classified right now as a sickness, right? Loneliness. So we might be suffering from loneliness as well, in which case we need to go into communal sort of settings, participate. You know, you might say, okay, going to a majlis, you don't gain anything. And that's often said. But the benefit of a majlis is in the social communal aspect of it. Drinking tea, small talk, cursing the Molana, saying how boring the majlis was. All of these things are needed. You know, to have a sort of fulfilled sort of an environment. Family gatherings, activities and projects that we initiate, birthdays in families, calling each other, and Quran is heavy on this. Maintain kinship, familial ties. Yeah? So, I mean, these are just some of the things you said, most of these things. I'm just adding on a few more, if there are a few more. Now, financial health. Not everybody needs to be successful businessmen. We don't all need to have a lot of money. We need to understand that. We need to have sufficient to get by. I believe even that is not necessary because the community should have support systems to assist younger people on route to a career and profession. And those, when they arrive at that level, they recontribute to the community. Now, a person who goes into academia, they're not going to earn a lot of money. They're not. Their focus should not even be money. They should not be money driven. Their job is to churn out ideas, yes? Or inform us of how these ideas have arisen within the intellectual history of humanity. Not all be focused on money, but we need to have a sufficient amount to allow us to pursue other things. So here I feel when people embark on certain sort of life choices and vocations, then the community needs to be there to assist them. They shouldn't be burdened with trying to earn money in order to go and study. No, help them and they will pay back. Oh, is that what you're trying to do? Spiritual health. It's all about presence. We need to become present and we need to become grounded to attain that gravity, and at the same time, I know this will seem contradictory in terms, but fluidity. Fluidity is a state of inner flow, not being perturbed by circumstances and not getting stuck, and being present, available, knowing, calm. These are the things that we need to do in terms of the spiritual health. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Salawat. Okay, we want to thank the Lord and all the beautiful souls I've met in the whole week I've been here for inviting me and sharing this special moment to meditate with the weekend and go on a journey to connect with Allah, inshallah. So I just wanted to mention this. A lot of I need to relax to be able to guide you, right? Okay. So there's lots of Allah mentions a lot of times in the Quran about the ruh, the spirit, and the nafs. There's different types of nafs, which is the soul, the self. So I've given those references to Maryam. So if anybody's interested, please, touch base with her rather than me spending time on that. My intention today is to just very briefly talk about the qualities of the soul, the 7 virtues, and then the 5 vices, and then go into the experience. Okay? So the 7 qualities of the soul, which are the virtues, is number 1, peace. Having that inner, deeper feeling within the soul, at peace. The second one is love, which we all know about. The inner love of connecting with Allah. Third one is happiness, inner joy, to experience that through meditation and having that inner joy within the soul. Knowledge, having the knowledge. And then powers. There's different types of powers. There's 8 different types, and there's little branches and lots of layers of powers as well. I'll just share one example, which is the power of tolerance, sabr. Allah has given us intellect to be able to judge, make judgment, follow our instinct, our gut feeling. These are all this inner power we have. Purity. So again, there's lots of branches and layers of purity within us in the soul. Purity like having pure thoughts, pure words, pure actions. So again, working within the quality of the soul. Not about having pure milk or organic milk, right? So the last one is bliss, the feeling, the inner light, the al-Nur, connection with Allah, to awaken that inner light and feeling of bliss. Okay? So today, and then the 5 vices, which really darkens the inner light. So we need to be aware and educate ourselves, have the knowledge to recognize those 5 vices. Awareness. If you have that awareness, then if you recognize it, you're able to have that self-realization, that awakening, to be able to make some changes in our soul. So the first one, which everybody knows about, and Brother Sheikh Arif has talked a lot about this week, is the ego. And again, there's lots of layers of that, right, which we all know. Jealousy. Third one, greed. Fourth, anger. Fifth, lust. So today, there are many tools, different types of tools to meditate and connect with Allah. Our namaz is a form of meditation, but we need to learn to able to have some tools to be able to connect with Allah during day-to-day life, during our namaz, even while we're eating, while we're walking, going for a walk, connecting with nature, you can meditate. So today, I'm going to practice one of the tools, well, we're going to practice, right? So we're going on the inner journey. So, there are some people in the floor, there are some souls who have experienced meditation or who have practiced meditation. So for today, if I may request you to join together with an open mind, with a new experience, to go into an inner journey. And just follow, I will guide you and follow and repeat some of the affirmation I will say. If you repeat them, they go in your subconscious mind and you're able to apply it in your life, inshallah. So the three, one of the tools I tend to remember, I use it all the time, is called my 3 C's. So the first one is being soul conscious. Second one, being Allah conscious. Third one is having connection with Allah. So remember the 3 C's. Soul conscious, Allah conscious, connection with Allah. So that's our aim today, and I'll guide you with that today. So before we start to meditate, I'd like all you to sit properly. Make sure your back is straight on the back, so your bum is touching the back. I know these seats are not perfect for meditation, but we'll do our best. Okay? And then have your shoulders back, roll it back and relax. Okay, so we need to open the chest, start with the breathing, because breath is a wonderful tool to be in the present moment. So I'd like you to close your eyes and join me on this inner journey and just focus on your breath. As you breathe in, Feel the air filling your lungs up completely as you breathe in. As you breathe out, empty your lungs. Next inhalation, as you breathe in, feel your belly rising. As you exhale, feel your belly going in. Really focus on the breath. Inhalation, belly rising. Exhalation, belly going in. Keeping the mouth closed and breathing through the nose. The next breath, I'd like you to go in a journey, and as you breathe in, feel the expansion of your lungs within. As you breathe out, feel the contraction of your lungs within. Deep and slow breath, focusing on the expansion of the lungs as you breathe in, and contraction of the lungs as you breathe out. Now, bring your attention on your nasal passage. As you breathe in, feel the cool air entering your nasal passage, going at the back of the nose, back of the throat. And some people can even feel it filling the lungs. As you breathe out, observe and notice the breath is slightly warmer. So notice and reflect on the difference with the in-breath, feeling in cool air. As you breathe out, you feel the air is warm. Now our mind and our body is relaxed, focusing on the breath. Now I'd like you to bring your attention on your heart. Feel the breath going into your heart. Feel the energy around your heart. And if you can experience the light, the inner light within your heart. If your mind wanders off, you have wasted thoughts or unnecessary thoughts, just use the breath to bring you back to the present moment and tell your monkey mind, this is my time to meditate and connect with Allah. I'll deal with you later. Go back to focusing on the heart, the nur, the light, the inner light. Immerse the light within the soul. Feel and experience the love of Allah entering your soul within your heart. Repeat this affirmation in your mind. I am a loving soul, my mind is loving. I am a loving soul, my mind is loving. If you're able to visualize, feel the light, the love of Allah within you. If your soul is loving, your thoughts, your words your actions will naturally be loving towards yourself and others. So have an inner conversation with Allah. After this meditation, we're going to prepare ourselves to do namaz, or salah, zohar. Some people might go and do wudu. So practice these 3 stages when you're doing your salah. Talk to Allah. If your mind wanders off during your salah, ask Allah, can you help me to connect and concentrate on this salah and connect with Allah? Have that intention to be self-conscious, Allah-conscious, and connect with Allah. Now I'd like you to go back and come back to the present moment where you're sitting and bring your attention back on the breath. As you breathe in, feel the cool air entering your nasal passage. As you breathe out, feel the warm air. Bring your awareness back to where you're sitting on the chair. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and recite Salawat. Do we have time for? I'd love to hear your experience or any questions. Or I'm around later on if somebody wants to come and share their own story or ask any questions. It's a very personal journey here.
I think if you look at our motto, Organization for Islamic Learning, stands for bringing a sense of self-awareness more than anything else. It's about spiritual awakening. Now, the thing that where you people can help us, today's program, what worked for you, where do we need to focus on, how can we improve the process, is the feedback that we really need from you. And it's been provided to you on the, if you just go to Organization for Islamic Learning, please provide us your feedback. The seminar, the evening discussions, the talks of Sheikh Arif. So we are so fortunate in that way. But again, all right, like anything else, you heard the panel, all right? It's the self-introspection, which is what we want from a board, is to be able to look at it, and we're open to it. You can criticize us by all means, as long as it is constructive. That way we can move forward, we can progress from there. So with that, Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much for all of you and your active participation. Those that stood up here before us in presenting the table discussion, the panels, sharing their views in the process here. On behalf of the Organization for Islamic Learning, the only thing we extend ourselves is Jazakumullah khairan, inshallah.
كل لحظات العمر فيها استفادة، وإن مضى يوم ترى ما به إعادة، تمضي الأعمار ما